All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody. I know it's noon Eastern time and in the morning still elsewhere. This is our first Academy Uplift webinar. We're excited to have you, excited to have it. Our goal with this webinar is to teach you guys how to increase revenue, reduce injury risk, and develop players with motion capture technology, which is what Uplift is. Again, thank you all for being here. Our special guest today with us is a Uplift power user by the name of Patrick Stanley. He's the owner of Complete Game Pro Instruction and Complete Game Solutions. He's going to give his kind of use case, his story at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions, he's here to answer those as well. Also on this webinar is our VP of Product, Matt Kowalski, and our resident PhD and biomechanist, Ricky Pimentel. My name's Dylan Saffel. I manage all of our sales for Uplift. Agenda-wise, our goal is to give you a quick overview of everything Uplift has to offer in terms of diamond sports for academies. It's kind of my belief that biomechanics are the next big thing in sports. It's very similar to what you saw in like ball flight data back in 2017, 2018. We're seeing that now with injury risk assessments, movement assessments, and pitching and hitting when it comes to motion capture. And we're really starting to see adoption of our technology across many different sport verticals, which is great to see. We'll give you a take on why biomechanics are so important in the hitting and pitching space, or our opinion of that, how Uplift Capture is being used for pitching and hitting, how Uplift Capture can be used in your facility for movement assessments like vertical jump, squat, range of motion, etc., which is an excellent additional feature that comes along with our pitching and hitting technology. And then Patrick will kind of bring us home with his personal use case and how he's used it and monetized Uplift within his own facility. To give you just a quick background about Uplift, we've been around for a few years. Our goal is to improve human movement performance across all parts of life. We're used in many different sport verticals. We're talking obviously about diamond sports, pitching and hitting right now, but we're used with professional tennis leagues, NBA, MLB clubs, track and field, you name it. Biomechanics can be used across all different sport verticals, and we're happy to have many partners in that space. We're an AI-powered technology and continuing to find new ways to positively impact sport through our motion capture software. If you have any ideas, people reach out to us all the time, and can you use this in a golf swing? Can I use this for shot put? Whatever it may be. But there's lots of different use cases for what we can provide, so feel free to bring us your ideas if you have them. I'm going to pass it along to Ricky to quickly talk about why we feel biomechanics are important, not only just in the hitting and pitching space. He's going to focus on that, but in general. So Ricky, take it away.
Yeah, first we're going to talk about power generation and energy transfer. So hitters want to efficiently generate power and transfer from energy or transfer energy from body to bat to ball. And this obviously involves coordinated sequence from the legs through the pelvis and torso, and finally to the arms and bat. Analyzing sequencing ensures that hitters are maximizing their power output. Uplift obviously provides kinematic sequence for every swing, as well as a number of energy transfer metrics like sway, hip hike, and drifting forward. Next, we can also identify tendencies and consistency. Hitters may do dozens of swings during a batting practice. Their mechanics can change from the first swing to the last or anywhere in between. With the swing happening so fast and so many swings being done at a time, it can be really challenging to break down each movement into its individual parts and aggregate it across the full practice session. So let Uplift handle the movement recording so coaches can focus on the big picture or whatever catches their eye. Uplift Capture records hits at 240 frames per second, and your videos are always available for coaches and players to view afterwards. Our hitting report shows overall averages and main takeaways, as well as a swing-by-swing table with primary metrics for every swing with ball contact. And lastly, you can develop custom training programs with this information. Each athlete is unique and is going to have different quirks and tendencies. These biomechanical assessments provide quantitative data about a player's specific mechanics. And this info allows coaches to create tailored programs that address individual weaknesses, focus on specific areas for improvement, and reinforce efficient movement patterns. These personalized programs can lead to more effective training and faster skill development. And a lot of this also translates into pitching. So obviously with pitching, we're still interested in performance enhancement and efficiency. And these biomechanic analyses can identify inefficiencies in the pitching motion as well. So by understanding how energy is transferred, again, from the legs to the torso to the arm and the ball, pitchers can optimize their mechanics. This often leads to increased pitch velocity, better control, and more efficient movements. Uplift provides kinematic sequence timing, as well as segment to segment speed up factors and rotational velocity curves to break down sequences in greater detail for every single pitch. Next, we can also look into technique optimization and flaw identification. While pitches are tracked and counted more than ever, you can get quantitative data on every aspect of a pitcher's delivery. Uplift allows coaches and trainers to precisely identify subtle mechanical flaws or areas for improvement that might not be so easy to identify. We automatically measure over 20 different pitching metrics, including hanging back, stride length, early release, and more. And tracking these metrics across every pitch to identify which ones aren't a problem and others that need more attention. And then finally, you can get into injury prevention and risk reduction because pitching places incredible stress on the arm, especially at the shoulder and the elbow. These biomechanical evaluations can pinpoint tendencies in the mechanics that may increase the load on these injury-prone areas. At Uplift, we identify flags like forearm flyout, late rise, and arm drag. These are known flaws that can increase injury risk. Tracking and correcting these issues can significantly reduce the risk of injury for both acute and overuse injuries.
Awesome. Thanks, Ricky. I do think there's somewhat of a stigma around biomechanics that it's just really difficult to understand. And we'll talk to Patrick about this. If you do move forward with Uplift or want to ask more questions, the great thing about our team is that we're always available when it comes to support. Ricky loves having conversations with academies, colleges, professional teams, whatever it may be. If you don't understand a data point while you're using it, we always have resources available to help understand that and help implement it into your programming. As far as Uplift Capture goes, which is the kind of the main player here with what we're talking about and what you would be using at your facility, it is an extremely easy and efficient tool to use and implement into your programming. I think what separates Uplift is three things. The first being that it's mobile. You use 2 iPhones or iPads to capture data for pitching and hitting and also movements, but you can do that inside or outside with Wi-Fi or without Wi-Fi. So being able to move it around between cage to cage, it's not hardwired in. There's no cameras that you need to have plugged in all the time. It's extremely mobile, and being able to take that inside and outside is helpful for a lot of our use cases. The accuracy is phenomenal. We have done many different validations against other companies in the space. If you have questions about that, we're happy to share more outside of the webinar. But feel free to reach out. But the product is super accurate, especially given the fact that we're using 2 separate cameras, getting 3D visuals and different depth of vantage points. And then the price point. We do have the ability to offer you monthly billing if that's something that helps you out. I know it helps a lot of academies out that also bill month to month for their parents and players. But the price point is phenomenal, and we can talk about that in a little bit as well. To use Uplift Capture, you need 7.5 feet of space, both behind and to the open side of the player, both pitching and hitting. And then there are different setups that you can use. That's our main one, the one that we recommend. And then for most of our movements, you're set up roughly 7.5 feet at 45-degree angles from where the movement is taking place, whether that's a lunge, a squat, a jump, whatever it may be. Data is stored on the device when you're using Uplift Capture. I think it's important to note that. And then once you connect to regular internet, regular Wi-Fi, it's then uploaded to the cloud where reports and data is then being able to be viewed 5 to 10 minutes later. So all of that data, if I can show an example in a little bit, but essentially for one pitch or one hit, we show hundreds of data points on our CSV files. We take all of that data, simplify it out, into an actionable report for your instructors to teach your players, and then at the same level, give parents a deliverable that just goes on top of that instructor's eye test. Video and reports are all saved over time on our web portal, which Matt's going to talk about here in a little bit, and can be easily downloaded and shared. So the ability to view those videos and reports over time is a really good resource for our instructors and for our players and parents. And again, being able to see that over time and having that all stored online is super helpful, and you have access to all of that through our subscription. When it comes to Uplift Capture for pitching specifically, A lot of our users use it for injury risk assessments and overall delivery efficiency of how the body's moving. If your body's not moving correctly, the output or the ball flight and ball performance is not going to be as good as it can be. In partnership with OnBase U, our reports break down the entire pitch sequence from wind up and loading, movement through foot contact, and acceleration through ball release. It's all provided there for you. We're going to show you an example of a report here in a minute. And whether you have young players just trying to figure out how they should be throwing or moving off the rubber, or you've got top end high school guys, college guys coming back in the summer that are just trying to gain more velocity, or they have they feel something in their elbow, or they're worried about getting injured. Uplift Capture gives you the resources to provide that actionable data to make those changes necessary to be moving efficiently. I think that the biggest thing for a lot of the people that I speak with at the academy level is they have the proficiency. They're all ex-coaches, ex-players. They can give players kind of that eye test, but again, being able to provide a deliverable, an assessment tool for players and specifically parents who are paying for these products, and being able to provide them something that's backing up what their eyes are seeing is super valuable. Same for the hitting side. On hitting, Uplift Capture finds all the energy leaks where a hitter can improve while they're moving through the swing. We provide kinematic feedback for everything from trunk position all the way through the swing of the bat. Obviously, there's a few less data points for hitting, but we take all of that data and again provide a detailed report on the efficiency of that batter's movement to increase power. I think that with pitching and with hitting, it definitely is an assessment tool. Patrick's going to talk about that here in a second. With pitching, you want to be somewhat throwing high intent, so you're not going to use capture with every single bullpen. With hitting, you can, and it shows players that they're being consistent, with every single swing of the bat, and that there's no days off because you need to continue to swing the bat. It's harder to see the ball output in a cage, but you can definitely make sure your body's moving right with Uplift Capture for hitting. And then I think the other cool feature that we have to offer is that we're not just a pitching and hitting company when it comes to Uplift Capture. We provide all of these movement assessments as well. I think it's important to talk about it because with the purchase of Uplift Capture for pitching and hitting, you do get access to movement. You have access to range of motion assessments, energy leak assessments when it comes to different types of jumps, lunges, squats, all of that at your fingertips. So I've definitely recognized with academies recently that if you've got pitching and hitting, a lot of facilities are adding a strength and conditioning component so they can kind of be an all-in-one package for their membership. Being able to add Uplift Capture into your programming is super simple. You can use the same devices, the same app. You just essentially go in the app, click which movement you want to do, and you can add an entirely new form of revenue and movement vertical into your programming. I'm going to pass it over to our VP of product, Matt. He's going to run through our reports. This is just a quick overview. These reports are multiple pages. We're happy to send them out, if you reach out and want them. But he's going to kind of talk to how we get our reports and then our new web app as well.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. As Dylan mentioned, the real power of Uplift is not just in us being able to track 3D movement through time. It's being able to analyze the movements and pull out insights that help you diagnose movement inefficiencies with your players, find things to fine tune and work on, and then reinforce those in the progress that they make over time. So these reports are generated after an assessment. That could be a bullpen session, it could be a batting cage session, it could be something in the weight room. Once all of those captures are uploaded, they are analyzed. We look for commonalities and averages and aggregates across those movements to pull out things that athlete could be doing better. You can see in the hitting and pitching reports, and as Ricky mentioned, kinematic sequence is a big one for hitting and pitching. Are they sequencing correctly, and are they getting up to speed in each of their segments? We highlight specific energy leaks, places where they might be losing power, that with a little bit of intervention, those could be tighter, more efficient, and they could be transferring their power better. And in movement assessments, we're looking at the same thing. We're looking for asymmetries between limbs that could indicate an imbalance or a weakness. We're looking for progress over time, testing someone in a counter movement jump every month as a determinant of their power, or on the other side of their fatigue, is a great way to use Uplift reports. And all of these are sent directly to you, and you can share them both with your athletes and their parents as a takeaway and a reinforcement of what you're programming for them. We're also excited that we've just relaunched the new version of our web app. The web app is the hub of the Uplift platform. It's where all of our data that gets captured in the Uplift app goes to be analyzed. It's where you can review them. You can search, filter, and pull out individual captures and look at the videos side by side with your athletes to reinforce some of the things that you are programming for them, to show them where some of those things that you've highlighted through analyzing our data are happening. You can see in this example, we've highlighted some of the energy leaks that may be happening during their pitching movement. And Dylan, if you can go to the next slide, the other nice thing about the web app is, besides having an aggregate for all your reports and all your data in a single place, every single capture can be visualized in full 3D. So this is our web visualizer. I can pull up any capture of any movement that I do, scrub through or play in slow motion the videos, as well as a fully interactive 3D space. So if I want to zoom in on a specific movement and efficiency that the athlete is hitting, I can do that through the web app as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. So I'm going to use the rest of this time. We're going to kind of dive into, Patrick's use case with Complete Game Pro instruction. So I'll pass it along to him. Patrick, could you just tell us a little bit more about Complete Game and why you chose kind of Uplift Capture in your programming?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on here. So Complete Game was started after I finished playing professionally. I opened my facility 13 years ago with 5 kids to do private pitching lessons. And now we're at 7,000 square feet. We have 10 teams starting at 13U. And we see over 450 athletes a year, ranging from 8-year-olds up through guys who are currently playing Major League Baseball. To be clear, I have 2 distinct businesses. One is Complete Game. This is the Player Development Academy, and the other Complete Game Solutions, which I'll touch on later, which is a consulting business where I actually work directly with facility owners like you guys. So how I got from there to here is really just by focusing on one simple thing, and that's the client. Focusing on giving the player and his parents the best experience possible. And giving them the best experience means I have to give them the best of me, my attention, my expertise, provide them with a facility, with equipment, with technology that's going to impact them as both a person and a player. So through the years, I've worked through a lot of different technologies, and over the last few years, and this is what led me to Uplift, is being able to help a player achieve his goals to get to the levels he wants to get to as quickly and as effectively as possible. There comes a point where our eyes just can't do enough anymore. I don't put a 9-year-old onto Uplift because I can see with my own eyes exactly what this kid needs. But as they continue to develop, as they continue to get older, or as players of higher caliber come in, there hits that point where I need to have data, and I need to have the ability to look at certain key points in their motion to understand what it is that they need help with exactly. What is the root cause of their issue? I may see that they're flying open, but why is that happening? Obviously, it could be physical, it could be mental, but it could be mechanical. And that's where we use Uplift. I used Wearables in the past. The research shows they don't work. Certainly not the things that most facility owners could justify having in their space. With Uplift, it was the perfect combination for me of extremely accurate data, ease of use, but also the reports. Being able to take this complex scientific information and translate it for myself, for my coaching staff, and also for the player and the parent in a way that they can understand. That was one of the first things I brought up to Uplift when I started researching it. Was I'm not a scientist, And I've worked with guys who are very deep into the science, and I found that they're not very good at instructing baseball players, and vice versa. Baseball players are not scientists typically. I've yet to meet one who's proficient in both. So with Uplift, to be able to break down a player's mechanics, find their energy leaks, and understand the root cause of what's going on with their motion, what's hurting their performance, putting them at a higher injury risk, and then how to take the necessary steps to go ahead fixing this. What Uplift did is allowed us to do that in a way that cut our time by about 85% of workload. And tying that back to the customer experience is using a technology that allows myself and my coaches the freedom to focus on the player. And that's what Uplift does. It doesn't consume my time trying to set it up. It doesn't consume my time trying to understand it or to convey it to them. It allows me to do what I do best and focus on training them. And then from there, it also allows me to monetize it. We use it for assessments for our players. So being able to incorporate into my facility, and then also how I do it with the consulting, where I help incorporate and tie this into other facilities, is to have a recurring revenue source, using a technology like Uplift to be able to continue to offer a customized personal experience to the players that doesn't just give them a positive experience, but also sees actual tangible results.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick, for that. How, in terms of monetizing, like how do you go about that? Or how did you play around with different dollar figures? Did it go into your membership fees? Did you charge per assessment? Could you talk to that a little bit?
So I have two different models because it's what's right for complete game. As with complete game solutions, when I consult with other facilities, we customize how we use Uplift to their setup and how their structure is run. But for complete game, I have two options that I use. I use assessments for players to be able to come in, and maybe they don't train here, maybe they don't play here, but I am able to give them this data and these reports so that they can take it to wherever they are going, and their instructor could help start to get to the root issues of where they're leaking energy. For the most part, we use Uplift for our players as part of an additional service, something I call the academy. Uplift is the biomechanics piece of the academy, which does have a physical strength component. It has a mobility component. It also has a mental strength component. But as far as the biomechanics go, or whether it's a person coming in and joining the academy as a hitter or joining the academy as a pitcher, I use this to be able to give them monthly customized programs for training that are going to help address the issues that they're seeing through Uplift and on these reports. Then each month, we're able to then reassess and see where they've gained, where there's improvements, and where maybe a new issue has surfaced, and then give them a brand new customized report. This is all a monthly recurring fee that they'll pay to be able to come in and get customized programming. All of our players that play for us have programs given to them, but the players that are part of the academy that we use Uplift for, theirs are 100% customized. And that's the beauty of Uplift, is that, and our players know this, when they're in here being assessed and then they leave, that's not the end of their assessment. Then it's myself and my coaches going through the data and going through the reports outside the facility to then be able to create those custom workout plans. It's, do you need it? No, but if you have what might take 18 months to conclude, we can figure that out in 8 minutes and then start to address what their needs are immediately. So it definitely accelerates the trajectory for this player, getting to able to maximize his performance.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that the important thing there is that it does differ how to monetize it, but you absolutely can monetize it in many different ways. A lot of customers we work with do add it into their kind of membership platform with how they charge it on a they work it in for the amount of assessments they do throughout a year. We do see other academies charge X dollar amount per assessment, so a player can come in and get assessed as many times as they want, whenever they want, and it's X dollar amount, and that dollar figure ranges. But you absolutely can monetize with Uplift, again, because you have a deliverable. Patrick, could you talk about how you introduce new players to kinematic tech, and just even that's just tech in general, but how do you go about starting with with Uplift, with new players that come into your facility?
Well, I think it's like everything else. You have to earn trust. So when a player walks in the door, the last thing I'm going to do is talk to them about Uplift, because I don't even know them. I don't even know what they're doing. When we go through one session with a new player, what I'm able to do is I'm able to look and say, all right, do you need motion capture technology in order for us to make your training here most effective? Players, and I know, and maybe somebody on this webinar is like this, because I had some coaches like this that work for me. They're kind of hesitant to try to introduce stuff like this because they feel like they're selling something. In reality, these players are coming to your facility because they trust that you're going to help get them to another level. As cliche as that is, that's what they're looking for. That's where Uplift comes in. But I want to see what this player is doing first. Do they need it? Now, after our session, I'm going to break down with the parent and the player exactly what's going on. They're going to have homework that they need to do. But this is where I get to introduce Uplift to them. Either with, hey, he's ready for this. Or, you know what? I want to talk to you about this technology we use. He's not ready for it yet, but when he gets to this point, here's what we're going to do. What it also shows is what your facility is capable of. And what happens a lot of times with facilities, and why people move on, is they kind of get to the end of where this facility can take them. Uplift completely extends that runway, because now you're able to take a player who, let's say he's a new player coming in, who he's talented, and based on your own eyes, it's not as obvious exactly what's going on. Why is he getting these results? Why is his arm continuing to have a nagging injury? Well, now you can introduce Uplift to them, talk to them about it. And what I'll say to the parent is, I'll say, listen, here's what we do. Uplift is going to be able to understand exactly what's going on with this player beyond what my eyes can do. It's going to help accelerate the improvements that we're able to make with him. And really, I just tell them, like, look, next time we come in, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and set him up on the motion capture. I'll send you the information on it, how to register for it and all that, but we're going to set him up on the motion capture. Afterwards, within X number of days, you're going to get the report. And then the next time you come in, we're going to break this down together and begin begin introducing a new training regimen for him that's going to help address these issues. And then when the time is right, we'll reassess him. Now, for players that aren't part of my team, those would be one-off assessments. For players that are part of my academy, that would be a recurring monthly thing that they would be a part of.
Awesome. Thank you for that. You talked about the next level. Obviously, that could be college or pro. What are you hearing from coaches at the next level about mocap? And are you really seeing a lot of your players that are moving to that next level more ready than other players because of their experience, their kind of all-around experience with motion capture technology?
Yes and yes. I'm not a scientist, right? So I called it a case study. I felt very intelligent calling it that. But I looked at a few of our players. I took high school guys, and I looked over a 3-month period of using this regularly. So every month we retested them. and then we reprogram them. And that's the key, right? So we tested them. We don't just give them the information and say, good luck. We give them a very detailed, personalized program. After 3 months, that next retest, where we also include metrics, we'll utilize Trackman, we'll have the HitTrax set up. We saw players go up in exit velocity from 7 to 11 miles an hour, and pitchers go from 4 to 8 miles an hour in throwing velocity. I always tell them, this isn't a magic pill. This is something that is going to unlock what's potentially in there. Obviously, this is in conjunction with strength training. This is in conjunction with, throwing programs. But looking at those players who use the motion capture versus the ones that didn't, every single player that used it had noticeable gains. So now talking to the college and coaches, mainly a few professional scouts, they're all interested in the motion capture because of what they know it's doing from their thing. Number one is injury prevention. Obviously they're looking at the players as an investment, so they want to make sure that they're getting somebody who they can trust is going to grow and last, through the years that they're with them. But also from a performance standpoint. And I know that, yes, there are colleges and there are obviously the professional organizations can afford some of these systems that are astronomical. But for the most part, there's more colleges that don't have that budget. And there's certainly an overwhelming majority of facilities that don't have that kind of budget. When I've shown them Uplift, every single one of them has been extremely impressed by the data, but then when we get to how to use it, because again, I think we look at the majority of colleges, they do resemble a lot of what we go through as facility owners is time. We don't have limitless amount of time to spend with these guys. So to be able to use a technology that is as quick to set up and as quick to break down, not just taking it down, but literally going through the data, they've been extremely engaged with that. And again, I think a lot of the studies too, not trying to put anybody down, but I think a lot of the studies about wearables, the fact that putting something on your body, if it shifts a micromillimeter during the motion, the data is useless. I think that's another big selling feature for them. It certainly was for me.
Awesome. I'm going to ask Patrick one more question, then he's going to talk about complete game solutions. If anybody in the webinar has any questions, now would be a good time to ask those in the Q&A. The Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Patrick, last question for you. Tech is kind of all encompassing now when it comes to the academy space. How do you use Uplift paired with ball flight technology, and not necessarily integrations that we have or don't have, but how do you pair that when going through your trainings, your programming, with a Trackman, Rapsodo, HitTrax, whatever it may be?
So it's really helping them. We use it all the time. So I will never use Uplift without using some sort of a technology to track their metrics. We do it hand in hand. It's really able to show them what their output is, compared to then what their body's doing, right? Is trying to make them more efficient with their movements, to seal up any of those energy leaks that are existing, and then show them exactly how that's correlating to their performance. Well, it's important for a coach's standpoint to be able to develop them. It's important from a recruiter standpoint to be able to track their growth. But for a player standpoint, it's the Uplift is the investment. It's the thing that they're doing that they go through, they walk away from, and they don't necessarily feel any different. It keeps them more engaged in their buy-in with Uplift, because the biomechanics then give them an actual tangible feedback when they see their exit velocity going up, when they see their hard hit ball percentage going up, or they start to see the different movement patterns on their pitches changing and developing. Now, all of a sudden, when they're doing the biomechanics, they know that in this moment, while yes, I don't necessarily feel a difference because I'm just being captured with these cameras from two different angles. What they do know is that over the next month, the work they're going to put in is going to provide real results. So that's where, their excitement and I don't know if you guys listening have ever gone through any of this. One of the things that I love the most and why I've expanded is the buy-in from the players. Um, we put together programs in a way that allows them to truly develop. And in order to develop, they need time. So part of what we do is incorporating the time that they are able to be here and train, but then also bringing in technologies that have actual results.
Thanks for that, Patrick. There is a question in here that I'm going to ask when we get to our Q&A portion directed at you, but could you tell us a little bit more about Complete Game Solutions?
Sure. So Complete Game Solutions was formed a few years ago. It's a consulting company that I have. My business partner is actually my brother, who works out. But what we do is we work directly with facility owners. It's basically the same thing I do with Complete Game for the players, but now Complete Game Solutions is with the facility owners as the client. I've had my facility for 13 years. I've used a lot of different technologies, and some of those technologies were not very strong. Some were very good, but I didn't have the programs in place to monetize them. I didn't have the resources to be able to correctly utilize them. So what I did was when I stepped back and pulled back the curtain and brought my brother in to my own business, Complete Game, what we did in being able to shift how certain programs were run, be able to monetize technology, not by just different services, but also the messaging, by the communication to the athletes, to the parents. I was able to grow tremendously and cut costs by a lot. I run very lean here as well. So like I said, we have 10 teams. We have over 450 athletes, 7,000 square feet of space, a full gym. I just hired my fourth full-time instructor. So we don't have a huge staff, but we have a consistent staff. So with Complete Game Solutions, we work directly with facility owners to start by saying, hey, let's talk about your business. And then we go through a full assessment with them to see exactly where there may be places where things that they're currently doing could be reshaped. Where are there programs that they're not offering that they could be introducing? What technologies are they using that could be monetized in a different way in order to achieve the same goals that I have with my own business, which is to offer the best customer experience possible and to be able to accelerate the growth and revenue that the facility is able to experience.
Awesome. And if anybody has questions about the Complete Game Solutions, Patrick's email's at the end here, and you can always contact us as well, and we can get you in touch with Patrick. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in Q&A. Aiden just asked about our side-by-side trials or validations with wearable motion capture. Ricky, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I linked into our website, which has 2 of our validation studies on there, and there's going to be more coming out in the next few months. But one of those is focused directly on baseball pitching and hitting, and that was done in collaboration with Driveline. The other one was around kind of movement jumps and looking more at like jump height, getting more into our movement analysis side of things. But the other research studies that we're working on is we have one specifically on running, lower body kinematics or joint angles. And then another one is going to be focused on more general like movement screen, shoulder range of motion, squat knee angles, just across a wide variety of movements, spine rotation, things like that. So stay tuned, and we'll definitely notify folks on our email list of when those are coming out, but I'm actively reviewing the data and collaborating with our university partners on those at the moment.
Awesome. Thank you, Ricky. Looks like we got one more. Let me read it really quick. Good question. So this question has to do with, if a team already has a multi-camera setup or archive content or videos, can Uplift process that content? It's a question that's basically driven by our MLB draft partnership and content that came out of there. So that product that we have currently is not available to amateur customers. It's called Uplift Vision. With that said, we are always looking into adding new features or products to our kind of product offering. We do know that remote wise, having video would be super helpful. To analyze and provide that, taking any video and giving that feedback. But there is a reason why our data is given through our app on two separate devices. It makes it far more accurate and gives you that feedback kind of right away. So more to come there, but currently there is no integration into kind of external video or other camera solutions. Ricky, Matt, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, no major updates to that. One of the reasons that we don't take in multi-camera video is because part of our algorithms are knowing how the data is, the videos are synced. So knowing the timestamps, making sure that those are in perfect lockstep, help us process them through our proprietary computer vision models. And from a single camera standpoint, it's something we're continuing to look into. But that, like Dylan said, that two camera angles really help us capture the rotational accuracy of these incredibly fast movements.
Yeah, I'll chime in and saying that like we feel really good about our two camera capture product. Single camera, we have a few things in the pipeline and we're working on some other things, but it's just not as accurate. Try playing ping pong with one eye closed and get back to me and you'll know why it's important to have two cameras and two different reference points.
I'll give it another minute or so. Great question. So if somebody wants to see a demo of Uplift Capture, I give those demos personally. It takes anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes, depending on questions that come up. But would love to connect with you and give that demo. If you have any interest, you can feel free to email me. My email's there. I put Ricky's email as well as Patrick. If you have any additional questions for Patrick on his use case or don't feel comfortable answering here. But feel free to reach out to me and we can schedule a demo. I've got time slots available every single day for that. And going into kind of the quote unquote really busy season after travel ball, getting into the high school and college season here in the next few months. We're seeing a lot of interest in Capture and giving a lot of demos. So feel free to reach out and we will get you on the schedule. Any other questions?
Dylan, I'll just jump in there and say, I know you've said it a couple times, but if Uplift does great demos, that's why I signed up. But I also know there's a value in being able to speak to somebody who, is a facility owner and does this. So through the email or whatever, we could jump on a call, whatever it is that would help you. You guys can always contact me as well. Whatever I can do to kind of show you how we implement it, how to use it, help with it. I'm happy to be a resource.
Thank you, Patrick.
Patrick, I can go with one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Ricky. We got time for one more.
Cool. Yeah, I was wondering, like, what's your preferred frequency for assessing someone with Uplift? Like, do you like to do 1 week or every month, or does it differ player to player?
I like to do a month. I found that a month works best because it's going to give them enough time to start really focusing on a few key drills that we're going to give them in order to try to affect this change. What we also want to do is be able to let them go at full speed and not have to try to consciously fix any of these movements. So a month has really kind of been the sweet spot. That's where, our academy runs with it. I've had players who have done an assessment and they wanted one in 10 days. And I said, listen, let's just give it more time. I always tell these guys too, like it's not a toy. We use it in order to be able to make real changes. Also, what we do with it is we have assessment nights. So I'll have dedicated times where guys will come in and we'll be able to rip out a bunch of assessments. It's quick enough that we can just say, hey, let's just set it up now. Let's get it done. But to have the assessment nights also helps because you can see a lot more people in a certain amount of time. and just not have to worry about any type of breakdowns. Athlete to athlete is very quick.
Thank you, Patrick. And also thank you for joining us on this webinar. It means a lot. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us directly, and we will see you soon. Thank you.